Baron Trump, time-traveling cartographer. In an alternate 18th century world, where steam engines hummed alongside alchemical forges and airships dotted the skies, Baron Trump was no ordinary young man. At 16, he was already renowned as a prodigy cartographer, his nimble fingers crafting maps so precise they were said to capture the very soul of the land. His workshop in New Amsterdam, a bustling coastal city of cobblestone streets and gas-lit lanterns, was a haven of parchment, ink, and peculiar instruments. Shelves groaned under the weight of ancient tomes, and a massive oak table bore the scars of countless quill scratches. Barron's ice-blue eyes, sharp as a hawk's, missed no detail, whether it was the curve of a river or the shadow of a mountain. Yet, Barron's life was about to take a turn stranger than any tale whispered in the city's taverns. It began on a stormy evening, when rain lashed the windows and thunder rattled the rafters. He was hunched over a map of uncharted territories beyond the great western expanse, a region shrouded in mystery and rumored to house forgotten ruins. A knock at the door startled him. A cloaked figure, drenched and trembling, thrust a small, leather-bound box into his hands. "Guard it with your life," the stranger rasped, their face hidden by a hood. "It chooses its keeper." Before Barron could respond, the figure vanished into the tempest. Inside the box was a compass unlike any he'd seen. Its brass casing was etched with runes that glowed faintly under candlelight, and its needle spun wildly, refusing to settle on north. When Barron touched it, a jolt coursed through him, and the room dissolved into a whirl of colors. He awoke sprawled on warm sand, the air thick with the scent of myrrh and stone. Towering above him were the pyramids of Giza, their limestone faces gleaming under a sun far brighter than any in New Amsterdam. Barron scrambled to his feet, clutching the compass. Its needle now pointed not to a direction but to a shimmering portal just beyond a dune. His heart raced. He was no longer in 1747. The compass, he realized, was no mere tool, it was a key to time itself. As a cartographer, his duty was to map the unknown, but now his mission was grander, to navigate the threads of history and ensure its course remained true. Each era he visited held a puzzle, a map flawed by error or sabotage, and it was his task to set it right. The sands of Egypt. The Egyptian sun beat down mercilessly as Barron dusted sand from his waistcoat. The compass hummed in his hand, its runes pulsing like a heartbeat. He glanced at the portal, a rippling oval of light that promised a way back, or forward. But first, he needed to understand why he was here. He approached a bustling encampment near the pyramids, where laborers hauled stone blocks and scribes scribbled on papyrus. His modern attire, breeches, a linen shirt, and a velvet coat, drew curious stares, but his confident stride and the air of purpose he'd honed in New Amsterdam's scholarly circles kept questions at bay. He sought the overseer, a wiry man named Khepri, whose kohl-lined eyes narrowed at Barron's approach. "You're no traitor," Khepri said, his voice sharp. "What brings you to the works of Pharaoh Khufu?" Barron held up a parchment he'd grabbed from his satchel, a half-finished map of the Nile Delta. "I'm a mapmaker," he said. "I've come to verify your records." Khepri's suspicion softened. Maps were sacred in this land, guiding trade and conquest. He led Barron to a tent filled with scrolls, where a master cartographer, an elderly woman named Nefert, pored over a map of the Nile's course. Barron's trained eye spotted the error immediately. The map showed a non-existent tributary veering west, leading to a supposed oasis that would lure travelers to their doom in the desert. "This is wrong," Barron said, pointing to the false tributary. Nefert's brow furrowed. "Impossible. This map was drawn by the priests of Ra themselves." Barron hesitated. The compass vibrated faintly, urging him to act. He unrolled his own parchment and began sketching, correcting the Nile's path based on his knowledge of geography and the compass's subtle guidance. As he worked, he noticed Khepri watching closely, his hand resting on a dagger. Suspicion lingered in the air. That night, under a sky ablaze with stars, Barron crept into the scribe's tent to investigate. The compass glowed brighter, leading him to a hidden scroll tucked beneath a stone slab. It was a duplicate of Nefert's map, but with annotations in a strange script, instructions to alter the Nile's course. Someone was sabotaging the map, but why? The answer came at dawn. A band of raiders, cloaked in black, stormed the camp, aiming for the map tent. Barron realized the false tributary was meant to mislead Pharaoh's supply caravans, leaving them vulnerable to ambush. Clutching the compass, he sprinted to the portal, which now shimmered near the Great Sphinx. As he leaped through, the world spun again. The steampunk horizon. Barron landed in a world of clanking gears and hissing steam. Airships soared above a sprawling city of brass and iron, their hulls gleaming in the twilight. Chimneys belched smoke, and mechanical horses trotted alongside pedestrians in top hats and goggles. The compass needle spun, then settled on a towering structure, the chronoarchive, a repository of maps and timelines. This was a steampunk future, a blend of Victorian elegance and futuristic machinery. Barron's 18th-century attire blended in well enough, though his lack of mechanical gadgets raised eyebrows. He adjusted his coat and headed for the archive, where a librarian named Ada, her arms adorned with clockwork prosthetics, greeted him. "You're here for the Temporal Atlas," she said, her voice a mix of curiosity and caution. "Few seek it. Fewer understand it." The Temporal Atlas was a massive tome, its pages glowing with holographic maps of every era. Barron found the entry for 1747 New Amsterdam, his home, and noticed a discrepancy. The map showed a coastline eroded far beyond what he knew, as if decades of storms had ravaged it prematurely. The compass pulsed, confirming this was his next puzzle. Ada explained that the atlas was maintained by the Chrono Guild, a secretive order tasked with preserving history's integrity. But someone had tampered with the atlas, accelerating the erosion to destabilize New Amsterdam's trade routes. Barron suspected a connection to the Egyptian sabotage. Was someone, or something, trying to unravel history itself? He spent days in the archive, cross-referencing maps and dodging the guild's enforcers, who grew suspicious of his probing. The compass guided him to a hidden chamber beneath the archive, where he found a device, a chronodisruptor, a machine capable of altering timelines. Its logs revealed a shadowy figure, the Time Warden, who had planted errors across history to sow chaos. Barron faced a choice. Destroy the disruptor and risk stranding himself in this era, or use it to track the Time Warden. The compass hummed, its needle pointing to a new portal. He chose to pursue the Warden, stepping into the light. The Viking Seas. The air turned cold, and Barron found himself aboard a longship, its dragon-headed prow cutting through icy waves. Bearded warriors in furs eyed him warily, their hands gripping axes. The year was 892, and Barron was among Vikings navigating the North Sea. The compass pointed to a crude map carved on a wooden plank, showing a route to a non-existent island. The Viking chieftain, a grizzled man named Eric, demanded to know Barron's purpose. "I'm a mapmaker," Barron said, holding up the compass. "Your map is false. It leads to death." Eric laughed, but his eyes betrayed doubt. The map had come from a seer, who claimed it would lead to a land of gold. Barron recognized the Time Warden's handiwork. The false island would lure the Vikings into a deadly storm, altering the course of their raids and, by extension, European history. Barron worked tirelessly, using the compass to correct the map. He navigated by stars and instinct, earning the crew's grudging respect. But the seer, a cloaked figure with eyes like burning coals, confronted him one night. "You meddle in what you cannot comprehend," they hissed, revealing a duplicate compass, the Time Warden's own. A struggle ensued, and Barron barely escaped through a portal as the longship rocked in a growing storm. The compass was growing weaker, its runes dimming. He realized it had limits, each jump drained its power, and he might not have many left. The final map. Barron's final jump brought him to a desolate future, a wasteland of shattered cities and crimson skies. The compass was nearly lifeless, its needle trembling. He stood before a monolithic structure, a fortress etched with the same runes as his compass. This was the Time Warden's lair. Inside, he found the warden, a figure cloaked in shadow, their face obscured. "You're persistent, Cartographer," they said. "But history is a tapestry of flaws. I merely reshape it." The warden revealed their plan. To unravel key moments in history, creating a world of chaos where they could rule. The sabotaged maps were tests, ensuring no one could challenge their power. Barron's compass, a relic of an ancient order, was the only threat to their design.